So I created a sample app that shows two ways of handling API errors in Canvas apps. I created it as a solution, so let me import the solution here by going to Solutions and Import, and then browsing for the file. Then I'll click Next, Next, and import once a connection there, and I've already got a connection MS Weather in this environment, which is the connector I'm using. I'm using MS Weather because it's in every environment and it's easy to cause errors. If you try to search for a city that doesn't exist, it will error and we can trap that. So once the solution's imported, let's publish all customizations. And then the solution is this one, API error handling. Let me open it up just so you can see what's inside of it. We've got a Canvas app, a flow, and a connection reference that the flow is used. So let's open up each one of these. I'm going to open up the flow. And let's edit the Canvas app as well. So this app has two screens. This one, using Power Apps, uses Canvas Apps expressions to call the MSN Weather API and handle the success or error. And this one uses Power Automate and Instant Flow to do the same thing. So let's start with this first one. And so let's start with a success condition. So I'll choose Seattle, hit send, and it should go out and get the current weather. It gives us a notification at the top. High and low weather forecast for Seattle. And then if we put in a city that doesn't exist, we see here the button on select, we got a message back from the API, location not found, and here's the raw response in the error. So how this is implemented, it's really all here on this, on the button here. And so there's this API variable, API error variable set to blank. And then when I call the API here, and I use the if error statement. And to use if error, here in your settings, you have to enable the a few preview features here, or at least one preview feature, which is the formula level error management. I've also turned on the enhanced formula bar. You enable those, you save and close and reopen your map, and this if error function will work. And so I call if error, and so this calls this, and if there's an error, it will then take the error info variable and set it to var API error and return blank. If there is no error, then it will get the result of this back to var result. And so afterwards, we check var API error, and if it's blank, then we have success. And if it isn't blank, then we have an error. We can do a notification type error. Now I use this var API error here for the error control. And so I do a couple things. Like this icon shows up. I've set the, for this SVG, I've set the visibility to if the API error is not blank. And then this is set to the control and property that comes out of that API error. Now the tricky part is getting the message out. And so we get back this raw message back here, which the API doesn't give us in a great format, right? It's not really JSON, and it's not easy for us to parse it, JSON coming back as a string anyways. And so this match function allows us to use regular expressions. And so I'm using this regular expression to pull back the code and then the message, the error message from that. And then I substitute the code part with blank so that I get only the message back, and that's what returns this location not found. And you can see the raw text here that we're working with here. We get this code : location not found. So that's what we're parsing out. So that's the Canvas way of doing this. Now let's look at Power Automate, and this is going to use this instant flow here. Takes a request from Power Apps, gets the forecast today using the city as a parameter, and then it parses the JSON back. And here's success, and then we get a different schema for a 404, right? So these are actually different schemas that are coming back. And this 404 side only runs because the configure run after is set to has failed. This one is set to is successful. And so if the call succeeds, it'll come here. If the call fails, it'll come here. These both generate a response. The response is of the same structure. And so these two do have the same schema, so that the same schema is always returned to the app. And notice they both have a status code 200, so the app doesn't think it errored out. I expose the real HTTP status code down here so that we can still use it. And then the useful result from a successful call and the body of the failed message are in here. So let's try calling this one. Call with Seattle again. That's right, we need to rehook this up. So let's remove this. Let's go back here. We'll go action, automate, get forecast, because I had a typo. Oh, nice, it fixed the typo. That's interesting. All right, so then that's now rehooked up. Now let's play this app. So let's call Seattle. Now it's calling the flow, and we can see here in our flow runs, this one came down here, got the forecast, took the success path, parsed out the JSON, and returned to us this JSON package that I defined so that I can keep it the same between the two. And it's more useful to me in the app as well. And so now we've got the same forecast, status 200. This is actually carried over from the other one. I need to update that. That's just a bug. So now let's try a failure. See, we got the error icon. We got a 404 location not found. The same thing. And then this one's still from the Canvas app run. And if we come back and we look at the flow run here, we see this failed. Took the failure route, parsed out the error schema, which is different than the success schema, but returned it to us in this normalized schema that the app is expecting. And that's what we parse out here in this app. And so here we're returning, basically the result is going to have everything in this one. So here in this one, when we call it, we set the result for pautomate to the run. And then if it's successful, we'll have this populated, all the temperature, the forecast. If it's not successful, we'll have this. And we can check if there's success, and that's how we make the icon, that's how we set the icon visible, by looking at the success parameter, which I'm setting here in Flow. And so basically this is just a schema I invented, a simple schema I invented for this. And so we set success equals false if it follows the false route. And so we could just use that here to determine if we had a successful call or not, and then use the status and things here. And so these are all just returned from that simple schema. So I hope this is useful to you. I'll give you the solution, and let me know if you have any questions.